Sure, you go first, right?
Good morning. I'm Gregory Mason, and welcome to First Presbyterian for Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church's service. We have listening devices now, so if anyone would like one, raise your hand, and I will get one when I'm done, and because you got to figure out how to use them. So Shirley, anybody else? Okay. We have an exciting opportunity to meet the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association next Sunday. Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt will be at First Unitarian Society in Milwaukee. The worship service will be streamed at 9 a.m. with a reception at 1 p.m. All are invited, and you can still make church here. Scrip, or what used to be known as Scrip, is raised right now. The deadline for orders for this round is next Sunday, October 15th. Online orders are encouraged, but Jody Spencer does have some paper forms if you need them. If you would like to attend the Hunting Moon Powwow in Milwaukee on October 21st, get in touch with Leanne. All ages are welcome. We will leave Racine at noon and return at 4 p.m. OBUUC Halloween Fun Night is Friday, October 27th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. here at First Pres. It's a dessert and snack potluck with costumes, games, and a haunted hallway. And then on the following Sunday, October 29th, we are joining Bradford Community Church for their Halloween service. Costumes are encouraged, and there will be a trunk or treat in the parking lot after the service. The Date with Death Club invites you to a Saturday with Death, November 4th from 9:30 to 2:30. Join Bradford Community Church, First Presbyterian Church, and Olympia Brown for morning workshops with childcare. Lunch will be provided. At 1 p.m., we will have What Your Funeral Director Wishes You Knew Now, an interactive question and answer session with Patty Potter Fitchett. On November 5th, the 8th Principal Committee will host an open conversation on the effect of voucher schools on public education and our democracy from 12:30 to 2 p.m. in Fellowship Hall. Our guest speaker will be Angelina Cruz, President of the Racine Education Association. Thank you to our volunteers today. Our ushers, Sandy Berezowitz and Brana Woolman, Coffee Hour, Roseanne Mason and Chris Gasick, and our Zoom Coffee Hour host, Patty Riemann. And if anyone would like to get in touch with me to do coffee hour for any of the upcoming dates, please contact me. If you did not get a name tag, if you weren't here for our extravaganza fair, we have a name tag, make your own name tag table in Fellowship Hall. You can do that during coffee hour, or you can pick up one if they're in there. Some of the families have envelopes, and you can pull them out of there. For more information and details about these announcements, along with others and community announcements, see your weekly emails. Please join us for coffee hour following the service. For those joining us on YouTube, log into Zoom after the service for Joys and Concerns, along with coffee hour. The link is in the email.
Good morning, everyone. We are gonna, Good morning, everyone. Thank you, that woke you all up. We are going to, I want to start out by welcoming our two Native American singers today. They are going to start the service, and this is Mike Penanacult, and this is Billy Bob Graham. So they're going to start out with a traditional song, and they're going to also explain it to us. So thank you.
What we're going to do, like when we start anything, we
Testing.
First of all, let me backtrack here a minute. First of all, I'd like to say Poso, which means welcome in our Menominee language. And we always start our doings, our gatherings, our powwows, anything we do, we always respect our flags. The flag we have here belongs to Billy Bob. That's his family staff. I also carry Eagle staff, which is for the Gold Star families. Families that lost their loved ones in combat in all of the wars, not just one, but it covers all wars. And we're honored to be here today to sing. First song we're going to sing is for our flag. So if you don't mind, would you please stand? If you can, yeah. Just to explain a little bit the way our traditions are, when we do things, we always do things in fours. Our songs, we do 4 push-ups, and on a medicine wheel, you notice there's 4 different colors on it. They're for the changes for every season, winter, summer. Right now, we're in almost into the fall. Now it's time for our people to start harvesting the crops to get them through the winter. You notice, we already had our maple sugar run, and like I said, every year it's just our cycle, and it's also our cycle of life we follow, from a young one, mature, and then as you get brown, elders, and then the last one is when you cross over to meet your Creator on the other side. So like I said, that's why we always do our songs. Everything we do it in force for the Creator, for Mother Earth. And that's why if you ever go to Powell, you notice that too. Everything is done in force. And that's where I was taught by my elders from way back when I was growing up on a Menominee reservation. That's where I was born and raised, on a reservation up here in Wisconsin. I relocated down here back in, I think it was 75, 76, something like that. So, and I'm gonna let Billy Bob give you a couple seconds to talk about the staff that we have here.
Good morning, everyone, and it is an honor and a privilege to be here at this particular church, the Unitarian people. I want you to know that 15 years ago, we could not do this. We weren't allowed in churches, especially with our feathers and our way of our spirituality. We were not allowed. And thank God, we got people like you who are a little bit more open-minded and have welcomed us. And we're not going to do anything Indian to you. We are just sharing. We are just sharing our culture as you have shared with us. We got here about 45 minutes early. We found out that there was a whole bunch of wild women downstairs kept us busy and talked to us. And it was terrible. It was frightening for a minute there. But the thing is, you have to understand why it's so special for us today, because these ladies welcomed us. That's rare for us. And it's because of you, people like you, that are starting to open the doors and make it almost a normal thing, which we've always wanted. I'm sure you've always wanted, but it just wasn't going to quite work out. This staff could not be here 15 years ago. Okay? This is a Veterans Eagle staff. Most of these feathers on this staff come from fallen warriors. The staff is let out at all powwows, and it is believed that these gentlemen come alive at a powwow. It is our job to care for these feathers. I don't know about you, but sometimes, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but in most religions, you have a Bible or a book or whatever, and you stick it under your arm and off you go to church, right? I have to carry federal papers to carry these feathers. I still have to have federal papers to carry these feathers. And once again, when the invitation was to come to this Unitarian church, the first response within just a second was, sure. You guys have become more and more and more familiar to us. And once again, these wild women that were here earlier today welcomed us. It still throws us for a loop. So once again, we're just gonna share with you guys. You guys will share with us, and we're both gonna go home a little happier and a little bit more with a little bit more insight, not knowledge, insight.
Yeah, thank you, Billy Bob. And next we're gonna do a little thing like we have songs for everything we do. We have songs for funerals, we have songs for births, we have songs for our sweat lodges, we have songs we do when we pass eagle feathers on to other people. We got songs for just kind of about everything, but right now I'd like all the young ones to come stand up here a minute. Billy Bob's got a little special he wants to do for them. See. Give us 1 minute here. We're missing one kid. I'm going to explain a little bit too why we got. These are some of our medicines we use. This is sage. We grow. It comes from the north, but we grow it in our yard. Me and my wife, we have it all, and we get so much of it. So that's one of our medicines to use. We use it for smudging and cleansing. And if, believe it or not, if you inhale the smoke from this, it helps your lungs. It cleans your lungs out. Another one of our medicines we use is cedar. That's the medicine we use. When we travel, we always put cedar in our shoes. So we have no bad spirits following us where we travel. And then the same thing with tobacco. This is one of our medicines we use. When we give an offering to the water, to the sun, to the Mother Earth, to the 4 directions, we use tobacco. And another one we use is our sweetgrass. This is all homegrown. We don't buy this stuff. I even got tobacco plants at home, but I wasn't going to bring one. So, but everything that I carry with me is all homegrown. Okay, I guess now Billy Bob's ready to do his little thing here. Like I said, we like to throw a little bit something in it for the kids. This is our next generation. And they got to learn their traditions from their family. And, it's good to get them. Usually we do this a performance down in a school down in Illinois. And we get maybe 200 kids. Billy Bob does a song for them, and he's got a little thing going with all these little kids down there where they, halfway through the song, they all start hollering, Billy Bob, Billy Bob. So I told all those little kids, I said, if you start hollering Billy Bob, he's got to give you $1 to every one of you that say Billy Bob. I think he walked out there broke. Okay, well, Wayne, thank you for giving us this little bit of time.
Okay, we're going to revise the program just a little bit as long as the children are up here. We're going to do the story hour. So Mary Norris, who has been kind enough to join us today, I've heard and can't wait to hear. I heard she's a great storyteller. Thank you, Mary, for coming.
Can you hear me? Good. My name is Mary Norris. I'm a storyteller. I want to tell you a story that I found in this book. The name of the book is Native American Stories for Kids. There are 12 stories in this book, and the man who wrote the book is a Menominee man, and his name is Tom Pecor Wesso, W-E-S-O, Wesso. And the very first story in this book is a Menominee story, and I think he knew this story for a long time, and I just learned it now, and I'm going to tell it to you. It's called The World of Ice. I want you to look, just a quick look at this picture. The picture was drawn by a woman named Georgia Felix. A long, long time ago, here and other places, there was only snow and ice. Ice was everywhere. It covered everything. There were no trees, there were no streets, there were no people, there was nothing, just ice covered with snow. It was cold all the time. They only had one season, winter. But there was someone who was about to do something. His name was Keesock. His other name was Sun. He had been in a long, long, long sleep. He woke up. He looked around. Oh, look at this. Everything is cold. It's all snow. It's ice. So he decided he was going to walk and see if he could find anything else. He took just a few steps. Oh, the ice was slippery. He slipped and fell right on his knees. He was upset. I'm going to go back to the east. I'm going to go back to sleep. And he slept for a long, long time. And when he woke up, He remembered his fall. He remembered his knees. Oh, they did not hurt anymore. He said, I want to see more. So he went out again, and he walked, and he saw right where he fell. He was hot. He was from the stars, and everything that he touched was hot. And he looked down where his knees had landed, and the snow and the ice were melted. And he looked and saw rocks. Oh, I wonder if rocks are everywhere under the ice. And so he continued walking. Oh, this time he fell again and landed on his bottom. Oh, he said, I don't like this slippery ice. And he went back to the east and slept again. Then he woke up. I want to know more. I want to see what else is here. And as he went, he saw that where he fell on his bottom, there was now a lake, a round lake. Oh, he liked that. And he went back home again and slept and rose, this time up into the sky. And he could look down and he could see the rocks. He could see little tiny pine trees coming up out of the rocks. Oh, he could smell. Have you ever smelled pine? Oh, it's a wonderful smell. And he liked it. He wanted to go and do more, but he was tired. So he went back and he slept, and then he rose one more time. He had had a dream about something called a white bear. He thought, why did I dream a white bear? I have not seen an animal. I have not seen a person. All I have seen is water, ice, snow, and rocks. But he remembered the trees. He went high, high, high up into the sky, and he looked to the north and the east and the west and the south, and he saw that there was more and more water. He saw that there was a river, and along the river he saw beautiful cliffs, and then he saw pine trees everywhere. There were forests all over. And then he looked for that white bear. He saw the white bear. It was in a cave in the rocks. So he went down and walked over and looked inside, and the white bear saw him and came out and stood up tall. He had a beautiful tail, and at the very tippy end of the tail, there was copper. Oh my! The sun was wonderful. He was so happy. He saw all of this and he said, I am going to come back every single day. And he did. And he still does. Every day you can see him come up into the sky. He goes as high as he can go, and then across the sky and down. And now you know the Menominee creation story about how the sun came to be. Thank you very much.
An important ritual for us Unitarian Universalists is lighting our chalice. This is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, the flames of love and hope and courage rising to meet us where we are. This morning, we are going to light our chalice to our land acknowledgement that the 8th principal has been working on and accepting feedback on and working on some more. So I invite Jody to light the chalice and Roseanne to share our land acknowledgement.
We recognize that the land our church occupies is within the traditional lands of the Ho-Chunk and within areas inhabited after 1650 by the Potawatomi, Menominee, and other nations, and we acknowledge that this land was taken by deception and by force by white colonist settlers and the United States government. We live at the Kipikawi, the junction of the Root River and Lake Michigan, so named because of the roots that clog the waterways. We vow to remember this history and to work to dismantle the white supremacy that is our legacy. We pledge to become allies with those indigenous peoples who survived the genocide and to support their treaty rights, their quality of life, and to honor their many contributions to our lives.
There are many ways we give to the life of this church, and the monetary offering is just one of these ways. Each month, we partner with a local organization that is doing really phenomenal work in our community and share the money that we gather. For the month of October, we are delighted to be partnering with Fe Vida Esperanza, Faith, Life, Hope, and I would like to invite Gigi Sanchez forward to tell us more about the organization.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm sorry, what is your name? Danielle mentioned, my name is Griselda, Gigi, for short, people call me Gigi Sanchez. I'm the founder and CEO of Fe, Vida y Esperanza, which translates into faith, life, and hope. Our mission is to offer support to the Hispanic community affected by cancer, all types of cancers. I started Faith, Life, and Hope in August of 2022 in memory of my brother who passed away with ribomyosarcoma back in 2015. And also my mom is a breast cancer survivor. So what we do at Faith, Life, and Hope, I'm going to go down my list really quick because I know I only have 3 minutes. Let me know if I need to stop. So some of the things that we do at Faith, Life, and Hope, we offer support groups for cancer patients, survivors, and their caregivers. And we do it every month. We provide wig donations. We have hats. We provide lymphedema arm sleeves. We come up with baskets of groceries, cleaning supplies, clothes, shoes, whatever the need is. So we just come up with the basket of whatever the need is. We do a one-on-one support, so meaning the support group members, they will either call by phone, a virtual, or a in-person one-on-one support with the newly diagnosed cancer patients. Last week, we had one of our support group members called Latin America to call and talk to someone who was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. So we do a lot of that too. We not only provide the resources to the Hispanic community affected by cancer of Milwaukee, we have worked with some cases here in Racine and whoever, whatever they call us from. So we not only provide the resources, but we help them apply for the resources. Many of them, have a lot of barriers, which is like language barrier, immigration status. Some of them don't know how to use a computer, don't know how to scan a document and then send it to an email to apply for any type of resource. So we do like a one-on-one. We currently have one of our support group members who doesn't know how to read or write, so we have to always help her since her family is always super busy working. Let me know, Shirley. So we do a lot of referrals. We refer a lot of them to the World Woman Program, which I don't know if you know about the World Woman Program. It covers the whole state of Wisconsin. It offers free mammograms and pap smears to ladies who don't have any insurance. So we do a lot of referrals to the Well Woman program. We do referrals to clinical breast exams, prostate cancer screenings, primary care. So primary care referrals is a big one. We are seeing down in Milwaukee a huge migrants who are coming, and they don't have, they have all those challenges, plus I don't have a primary care doctor, I don't have insurance. Where do I go? Who do I call? So the main resource that we do is connect them with primary care clinics for uninsured or low-cost services. We work really close with the Mexican consulate. In the past year, we lost 2 of our support group members to cancer, and their families decided to send them to be buried in Mexico. So then we had to coordinate and help with the whole process, the whole paperwork, the immigration paperwork and all of that with the Mexican consulate. And then we got in contact with a funeral home in Milwaukee as well. So we do a lot of that. Right now we have 2, we call them in need cases who we are working on. There is a female colorectal cancer patient who was just told that there was nothing else they can do for her. And she says, well, she doesn't speak English, undocumented, and has a single mom, has 2 10-year-old twins. And I did connect her with the Mexican consulate because she has a house in Mexico and is trying to do her testament, her living will in the United States to be covered in Mexico. So a lot of cases like that, and we don't know. One of the sisters trying to adopt the 2 kids, but then she is undocumented as well, but then they have a brother who has his green card, but he doesn't know if he's going to be able to adopt them. So that's our one of our in need case. That's my story. Thank you.
The offering will now be given and so gratefully received. You have more music for us?
I suppose you pull one on down.
All right.
We're going to do is for the bear. It's called the Bear Clan. The Bear Clan in a lot of our traditional native communities, the bear is the strongest being. You could go out in the woods and watch a bear. Whatever that bear eats, you could eat. That's how we got a lot of our medicines, by watching the bear. The bear is the leader of our clans. And that's from what I was told when I was a young guy, that's how we learned our way in the woods if we ever got lost. Sit still, and if the bear's there, you watch what he eats. Because what he eats, you could eat. It ain't gonna hurt you. So we're gonna do a Bear Clan song.
So Shirley's going to share some information with you today, and I want to thank you and both of you for that beautiful song, and hopefully you'll find that we did a good job of telling more of your story. Thank you. Are you going to stand here? Okay. All right.
By the way, this is one of the wild ones.
Thank you. Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Okay. We're just delighted to have you here. You have added so much to this service, and we hope you enjoy the words that come next. This is a journey that we're taking today, and my part of the journey goes to the past. I'm going to be talking about at least 9 tactics, and there were more, that the United States used against First Nation people. The first step in our journey takes us to the history of the U.S. government's policies to acquire land of the so-called Northwest Territory, which at that time was right here in Wisconsin. And I think most of us learned a little bit of this briefly in school, but many of us grew up with a romanticized version of early life with First Nation people. And romanticizing the past might have felt good at the time, but there was nothing romantic about what occurred. The word is genocide, the intentional erasure of an ethnic, racial, national, or religious group through physical or mental means. This genocide was fueled by 2 factors, both based on racism: greed for the best fertile land for the white settlers, who were seen as racially superior to the Native Americans, and the belief that the First Nation people would be improved by becoming assimilated into white culture and Christianity. The first tactic was thousands of massacres and the stealing of land. I would name some, but you probably know many of them. There were thousands, and at the Battle of Bad Axe here in Wisconsin, ended the Black Hawk War and opened up much of Illinois and Wisconsin to the white settlers. The second tactic was forced removal, and you've probably heard of the Trail of Tears, the Trail of Blood and Tears, which happened in the South, and people were moved to the West, which opened up 25 million acres for white settlers and for slavery. The Potawatomis from the Great Lakes region were also forced to march to unfertile lands in Kansas as their homes in northern Indiana were burned to the ground. The third tactic is starvation. The colonists who came here extensively hunted bison, cutting off the source of food and basic livelihood for Native people. And the fourth tactic, rewarding people for killing Native Americans. In 1814, the government paid between $50 and $100 for one Indian skull, which led to random murders and a reign of terror. And in addition, the Congressional Medal of Honor was awarded to 20 soldiers for killing and injuring over 350 Native Americans at the massacre of Wounded Knee in South Dakota in 1890. Fifth tactic, the scorched earth policy, was a military strategy causing extreme destruction by burning villages, killing livestock, and destroying water sources, which created all kinds of devastation and starvation. A sixth tactic, sterilization. In 1930, the Bureau of Indian Affairs began sterilizing Native women as part of their health service plan. It is estimated that by 1976, our lifetime, 70,000 women had been sterilized, which wiped out many small tribes. The seventh tactic, lying and deception. This was used often. There were many treaties that were made in bad faith. Some treaties were signed with secret provisions written only in English. Others were signed by false chiefs who had no authority to represent Native Americans' nations. And meanwhile, the white colonists often claimed protected land without legal consequences. The eighth tactic, legislation. As a result of the Dawes Act of 1887, tribes lost 90 million acres, nearly 2/3 of their land. Later amendments to the law removed federal recognition of tribal governments. The legal destruction of Native tribes was complete, but white supremacy demanded the destruction of Native culture as well. So the ninth tactic, and this is very disturbing, we stole their children. Between 1869 and the 1960s, hundreds of thousands of First Nation children were removed from their homes and placed in boarding schools operated by the federal government and churches. The children were taken to schools far away, where they were punished for speaking their native language, forced to cut their hair, stripped of traditional clothing, and personal belongings and behaviors reflective of their native culture. They suffered physical, sexual, cultural, and spiritual abuse and neglect, and experienced treatment that in many cases constituted torture for speaking native languages. As we continue this journey this morning, you will see that white supremacy continues to plague First Nation people into the present time. And then you will learn some ways that we as individuals, as a congregation, can begin a mission to eradicate it. Thank you.
Good morning. Today we're going to do joys and sorrows differently. We're going to read Lamentations and Gratitudes. So first, some Lamentations. We lament the colonization, slavery, and genocide of indigenous peoples in America carried out by agents of sword and cross. We lament the policies of manifest destiny and military enforced removal of indigenous people from traditional homelands and a relocation to detention camps in designated Indian territory, where thousands died from disease, exposure, and starvation in the Trail of Tears and a long walk. We lament the U.S. government's failure to honor hundreds of peace treaties with indigenous nations in America while pursuing policies to destroy their basic economic survival and cultural identity by killing off buffalo, controlling all commodities, and removing children from families into boarding schools. We lament present-day dominant structures that render invisible the indigenous people of America.
Hi, I'm Becky Marston, and I am going to take our journey forward to the 1970s and into the present. So we're going to Pine Ridge Reservation, which is in South Dakota. And Pine Ridge Reservation, this is the original outline of the Pine Ridge Reservation, the yellow. And if you look further, the yellow part was taken away when we formed the Black Hills. The orange part then remained. But today, the only part of the Pine Ridge Reservation that remains is in the dark maroony color. Today, life on the Pine Ridge Reservation is abysmal. From life expectancy to unemployment to crime and to poverty and to health statistics. I'm sorry, go back to Peltier, picture of Peltier. Keep going. Forward. There we go. The situation that happened in the 1970s when the whole story of Leonard Peltier started was very similar on Pine Ridge Reservation as it is today. So Leonard Peltier is now 79 years old, and he has been incarcerated for 46 years. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of his background. Leonard Peltier is a member of the American Indian Movement who has been serving 2 consecutive life terms for the murder of 2 FBI agents at the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in 1975. He has come to symbolize the Native American struggle for justice. The American Indian Movement, or AIM, was founded in the late 1960s with the goal of addressing issues faced by First Nation people. AIM is focused on protecting Native American rights and self-determination for First Nations people and promoting indigenous cultures and traditions. Peltier's connection to AIM began actually close to us. It was in 1971 when he participated in the peaceful and successful takeover of the abandoned Coastal Guard station on Milwaukee's lakefront. The takeover was justified based on the 1898 treaty that mandated the return of abandoned federal property to the land's original residents. A culturally based alcoholism treatment center and an Indian community school were then located on the site and had remained there until 1980. Peltier was involved in a 72-day occupation of the town of Wounded Knee in 1973. Wounded Knee has become a symbol of the American Indian activism. So, the situation in Pine Ridge in the 1970s, the Peltier and the AIM were asked to come to Pine Ridge by the traditional Indians to guarantee them to protect them from the violence occurring during the Reign of Terror that controlled Pine Ridge from 1973 to 1976, when over 75 people were killed on the reservation. Many of the dead were associated with the American Indian Movement. At the time, AIM was involved in a power struggle with Richard A. Wilson, who was a tribal president during the 1970s. Much of the violence occurred because of the conflict between AIM and the Guardians of the Oglala Nation, which were called Goons, which is a paramilitary organization and were organized by Wilson with the support of the FBI and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So in 1975, 2 FBI agents entered the Pine Ridge Reservation in 2 unmarked cars in pursuit of a red pickup truck involved in a minor theft incident. Gunfire ensued. More than 150 agents, goons, and law enforcement agents surrounded the ranch. When the gunfight was over, the FBI estimated that over 40 Native American had taken part. And these are the 2, These are the 2 FBI agents that were killed. and there was also a Native American named Joe Stuntz that was killed. But only Bob Robideau, Dave Butler, and Leonard Peltier, who were all AIM members, were brought to trial and charged on a first-degree murder. They were charged with shooting fatally injured Jack Kohler and Ronald Williams by a point-blank shot. In 1976, Robideau and Butler were put on trial in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Both were acquitted on the grounds of self-defense. One of the determining factors was presented testimony at the trial concerning the constant dread that pervaded the reservation at that time. Leonard Peltier had escaped to Canada, and in 1976 was arrested and extradited back to the United States. He was tried in Fargo, South Dakota in 1977. There's many questionable things about that trial. Excuse me, and the procedure that took place, which included a ballistic report that the only gun casing presented at the trial did not come from the gun tied to Peltier. There were intimidation of witnesses and the refusal of the judge to hear arguments that were brought forward at Cedar Rapids trial. The trial was also conducted before an all-white jury and prejudiced against Native Americans. Peltier was found guilty. The judge sentenced Peltier to 2 consecutive life sentences. So why is this important to us today? This reflects the injustices experienced by indigenous people. American Indians are to this day incarcerated at a rate that is up 85% since the year 2000, according to the Prison Policy Initiative. Fawn Sharp, who is the president of the National Congress of American Indians, told Huffington Post that Peltier has become a symbol of something much greater and bigger and more personal for many of indigenous people. The entirety of injustices that Native people have endured for many centuries by the U.S. government. Also, this reflects the injustice of the inordinately long sentences and the validity of keeping elderly prisoners incarcerated. His release would promote healing with Native Americans. There have been many supporters of clemency over the years. We have 7 legislators that have signed a letter to President Biden, which includes this statement: Mr. Peltier has spent more than half of his life behind bars. Now, at the time, 77 years old, he suffers from numerous health conditions, including a potentially fatal abdominal aorta aneurysm. We urge you to grant clemency to Mr. Peltier by commuting the remainder of his sentence. Mr. Peltier's continued imprisonment defies the promises of justice and the power to exercise mercy. I forgot my glasses here. Lies solely with your discretion. There have been numerous church and religious leaders that have called for Peltier's release. Those include Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, Desmond Tutu, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Coretta Scott King, Pope Francis, and approximately 35 churches and the church leaders, including 3 Unitarian Universalist congregations. There are 3 former prosecutors throughout the years that have now come out in support of clemency for Peltier. One is a judge in the 8th Circuit Court, Gerald Haney, who stated that the FBI used improper tactics to convict Mr. Peltier. The FBI was equally responsible for the shootout. And also there was former attorney for the state of Iowa, James Reynolds, who in a letter to President Biden said, I urge you to chart a different path in the history of the government's relationship with the Native people through a show of mercy rather than continued indifference. I urge you to take a step towards healing a wound that I had a part in the making. And last of all, retired FBI agent Colleen Rowley said to, I think, The Guardian, Retribution seems to have emerged as the primary, if not the sole reason, continuing what looks from the outside to have become an emotion-driven FBI family vendetta. Also, the United Nations and Amnesty International had called for his release. Peltier released the following statement at a rally of hundreds of activists and indigenous leaders in September of this year, 2023, at the White House. He said, "I hope to breathe free air before I die. Hope is a hard thing to hold, but no one is strong enough to take it from me." And this is a picture that he actually had made. Thank you.
A few more lamentations. We lament that justice is not applied equally to all human beings, making all of us a party to its abuse, as in the case of Leonard Peltier. We lament that modern-day poverty, lack of opportunity, health challenges, low life expectancy, violence, drug, and alcoholism on today's Indian reservations. We lament the continued abuse and sexual assault of Native American women.
Good morning or afternoon. Jeez. My least favorite friend is this Mike. Earlier in this service, we heard reflections about the history of genocide and the continuing injustices against indigenous people. We know that the history and the facts shared in this service are sometimes uncomfortable to hear, but hopefully these reflections will encourage us to accept responsibility for this shameful history and act in ways that challenge and change the continuing oppression and marginalization of First Nations people. In their reflections, Shirley Reynolds and Becky Marston spoke about America's history of injustice against Native people and asked us to consider actions we can take today to support them as they seek justice for more than 2 centuries of mistreatment and unfairness. Native communities all across America are demanding the return of their lands, their sacred artifacts, even the remains of their ancestors. They want all these returned to their rightful owners. We can and should support these demands. There are those whose response to these demands is to say that the land and treasure stolen or forcibly taken from indigenous people should never be returned because Indian people lost the war with the United States government. Well, Cree Nation activist and songwriter Buffy St. Marie's powerful song, Now That the Buffalo's Gone, includes these lyrics, which ask a heartbreaking and admonitory question. When a war between nations is lost, the loser, we know, pays the cost. But even when Germany fell to your hands, consider, dear lady, consider, dear man, you left them their pride, and you left them their lands. And what have you done to these ones? I have a dream catcher in my house. It was a gift from a Native person who's present today. It is a real one, not like the ones found in gift shops or at the mall, which my friend warns are all made in China. This thoughtful and caring friend hopes that my dream catcher will ensnare nightmares and evil spirits during the night and disperse them when morning comes. White supremacy has been a waking and enduring nightmare for indigenous peoples, one that no dream catcher can dispel, an evil reality that has haunted generations. Native people welcomed, fed, and sheltered the original European immigrants and settlers, who in return scorned their spiritual and cultural beliefs and practices, repeatedly broke treaties negotiated in good faith, robbed, murdered, and displaced them. The United States government, our court systems, and several presidential administrations supported and directed this ethnocide and genocide. The eighth principle, approved by this congregation in September of 2021, calls on us to journey towards wholeness by taking actions that, quote, accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. A white supremacist system still operates in America today. An important action we can take is to work to change this system, which continues to harm and disadvantage Native people and is harmful to all the rest of us as well. Let us do what we can to dismantle the centuries of racism, brutality, and injustice that have oppressed Native communities for so long. Indigenous people have historically responded to racist, demeaning mistreatment with resistance, resilience, and unity. Let us do likewise and commit to join with them in creating the beloved community where all are welcomed and valued. We can and should be grateful for the things we have learned or ought to have learned from indigenous people throughout America, including how to honor women, elders, and two-spirit tribal members, and lovingly include them in all aspects of community life. We should be grateful for our knowledge of herbal medicines, agricultural techniques, and responsible land management. We should be grateful for them having taught us to learn respect for the sacredness of the earth, water, and our natural resources. The eighth principle committee has some suggestions for us to take action. Support the extension of the Kipikawi Causeway. Racine County still refuses to rename anything but that one block of the causeway that is formerly known as Christopher Columbus Causeway. We can advocate to extend that name change for a much longer section of that street. Support for the Enbridge pipeline. In September 2022, Judge William Conley reaffirmed a decision upholding the Dakota tribe's claim that Enbridge has been trespassing on its land since June 2013, when an agreement expired that gave that energy company an easement for 12 miles of pipeline that passed right through tribal land. We can contact our legislators, our government, and support the tribal communities that are asking that their land and water not be polluted by a private, for-profit pipeline. This line, according to Renee Ann Goodrich, who is a Bad River tribal elder and a member of the Native Lives Matter Coalition, she tells us that Line 5 crosses over tribal territory and is one of those ceded territories that is my own reservation of Bad River. The danger that Line 5 brings to my community and to the environment is our biggest concern here. We have that need, we have that responsibility, we have that duty to protect our life givers. Our life givers are the earth, the aquifers underneath the earth, the women that are sacred water carriers, and water itself that brings life. As sacred water carriers, we stand with the water and urge the Biden administration to take action and shut down Line 5 immediately. We can join them in asking that the Biden administration take that action. Other actions that we can all take to support justice for Native American communities include the voluntary land tax that many churches throughout America are instituting to create financial support for movements. You can sign postcards asking that Leonard Peltier's sentence be commuted. Those postcards will be available here in this church next week. We can ask our own board of trustees at this church to sign Peltier's petition, which Becky referred to earlier in her remarks. Finally, happy birthday. We want to thank Mike and Billy Bob for being with us today and for their generosity of spirit in sharing your music and your wisdom. Mike is staying, and hopefully Billy Bob too, for coffee hour. So you can have an opportunity to talk with him and join us for some birthday cake.
Me again. Gratitudes. Gratitude can be another kind of reparation. We can and should be grateful for the things we've learned or ought to have learned from indigenous peoples throughout America, including we are grateful for First Nations peoples' stewardship and respect for land, water, and air. We are grateful for First Nations' sustained commitment to their culture and justice. We're grateful for the first congregational First Nation representatives, Deb Holland and Sharice Davids. We're grateful for Deb Holland, the First Nation Secretary of the Interior. We are grateful for how First Nation peoples honor women, elders, and Two-Spirit tribal members and include them in all aspects of community life. We're grateful for First Nations peoples for their knowledge of herbal medicines, agricultural techniques, and responsible land management. We're grateful for First Nations peoples' respect for the sacredness of the earth, water, and natural resources. Also, we acknowledge the joys and sorrows you hold in your heart today. In the words of Chief Dan George, may the stars carry your sadness away, may the flowers fill your heart with beauty, may hope forever wipe away your tears.
Jody, will you come forward with our chalice extinguishing words?
This is from Sun Bear, Chippewa teacher and healer. I do not think the measure of civilization is how tall its buildings of concrete are, but rather how well its people have learned to relate to their environment and fellow man.
I would like to share gratitude To our 8th Principal Committee, our worship leaders, Shirley Reynolds, Becky Marsden, Carl Hubbard, and Roseanne Mason for putting this service together for us. Thank you so much, Mike and Billy Bob and Mary Norris, thank you. And really to everyone who is connected to this service, to make this service possible, who supported, informed, and inspired all of us this morning. As we close, I would like to repeat these words from Carl Hubbard. I think they're very important for us to hear again and again and again and again. A white supremacist system still operates today. An important action we can take is to work to change or dismantle that system, which continues to harm and disadvantage Native peoples, First Nations, and is harmful to all of us. And I want to lift up the end of this reading that you can read all of in your order of service from the United Nations Environmental Sabbath Program. That ending, we lift up, we join together as many diverse expressions of one loving mystery. For the healing of the earth and the renewal of life, this is our calling. This is living our faith. This is living our faith. Our worship is over and our service begins. May you go forth in love until we return again. What do you think? One more song for us? Yeah? All right.
Yeah, we're going to do one more song. It's our closing song, and it's a traveling song. So we're going to do 2 push-ups for our Eagle staff, and then we're going to do a traveling song. That means when you all leave here, I hope you go home and find your homes in peace and harmony, the same way you left it. And I got a little note here. I was going to mention it, but the Menominee people been around here since 600 AD. We had remains bring back to our reservation last year that they were looking at. They did all the forensic work on them, did everything, took them 10 years to finally realize that they belonged to our tribe. And they returned them to our tribe last Veterans Day, where we had a ceremony and we buried them back in their homeland. That was really good that we got the people back to where they belong. So, well, winning. Thank you.
Before we start this, I just want to repeat again that it's been an honor to be standing with next to you. And that you do practice your faith. And with everything going on, and the ups and downs, and ins and outs, and all the technology, and this and that, and the other thing,
Yeah, I'd like to thank you again for inviting us. It was a pleasure being here. And like I said, Billy Bob will be answering questions in a little while. He'll pay you $1 a question. But if he don't get it right, you got to pay him $2.